Awesome, guys. So let's get started. So first, what we're going to do is just the weekly outlook. We'll start with NQ. So starting off on the daily chart, or really the weekly, you've got a pretty clear displacement of the upside. So I talk about this a lot with you guys. You don't want to forecast too much. So, like for example, a lot of times people say, "Okay, well, I think we're going to go this fair value gap. Then I think we're going to go up here." Okay, this doesn't matter to you yet, right? That does not matter. What matters to you is where we're going now. So how would you determine whether or not you're going to be moving down in a displacement? Well, if you wanted to go on the 4-hour, you could just use this market structure shift, right, to tell you that. You can also look at the daily chart, and it's very similar, right? We've got a daily displacement as well if we want to be a little bit more kind of conservative with our targeting, which is what I like to do. This would be the range, the daily impulse range. So daily impulse range, you got a discount, fair value gap on the daily right here. You've also got and then a displacement on the downside, which we absolutely fucking eviscerated on Thursday. Anyways, that is what tells me we're trading lower. So I think for NASDAQ, what we're going to do is trade down lower into these equal lows. Now, we talked about this at the beginning of last week, and then we rocketed away. I was off on that last week. I do think those are going to get targeted, though. Now, after that, I'd say we're likely to hit this as well. So think of it like how we took that trade last week, right? Whatever we traded into this low, and I said, if you push through this with force, we're going to get a flush, right? And that's what happened. No, actually, it was this one right here, I think. That one right there, I'm sorry. Forgive me. It was this low. We traded and we held on to that trade, and we got a flush a long ways through it, right? So kind of similar with this over here. If you get a push through those lows, you'll get a flush. Now, one thing that I do see, though, is this fair value gap, and looking at the range that's forming, kind of resting under this fair value gap. We've tapped it once. Now we know that the first tap in a fair value gap is almost expected to get swept, right? So that being said, if we're expecting this to get swept, then or we expect that it possibly can get swept. Also look at manipulation and displacement, right? We manipulated that low. So we didn't displace beyond that low. We've now pushed up. We didn't really create a displacement, so we're just ranging here. But I think that the market is likely to trade up higher into these highs right here, right? Relatively equal highs. We get on the 15-minute, right up in here, resting under that 1-hour fair value gap. So I think that's likely. Now, I wouldn't necessarily be as interested in trading that move as I would be in trading the move away from it if we get one. So overall, NASDAQ, I see us likely to trade up into this and then lower, right? The only way that I would, kind of negate that and say that's not going to happen is if we really displace through this low, like create a big fair value gap right here. And then I would be just looking to trade that lower. So that's the game plan with NASDAQ. ES, on the other hand, is a little bit odd, I'll be honest. ES looks ready to go, to be honest, in my opinion, ES looks ready to move up. So we look at ES, we've already came into discount. We've already came in this fair value gap right on that discount area. We've swept this low. We haven't shifted up though. So I am watching this. If we shift up with a lot of force here, and really create displacement, that could be something, a problem for that NQ idea. We might end up just trading higher. Anything can happen. That's kind of a contingency I see. Another thing I'm looking at with YM, I highly expect these equal highs to be hit, but I want to see how we react above them, right? Because if we look on YM, we've got we've got a lot of levels resting around this area. We've got this BPR right here that we're kind of trading in already. So hitting those equal highs would be, I guess, it'd be a good place to watch to see how the market reacts. We also have another high way over here. On a 4-hour would be cleaner. Yeah. So interested. I think that'll get hit on YM, but we'll see how the market reacts to it. Overall, since we're trading NQ, I'm going to focus more on that, but those are the outlooks for those respective indices. The dollar, all right, we talked about us being bullish after this happened, right? After we inverted that fair value gap. we've seen continued bullish price action. So that being said, I think that we're overall drawing up towards these equal highs. Now, I think we probably will trade up into this. I see two situations. Either we trade into this, fall down to this breaker and fair value gap, and then go higher, or we just trade into this and then just go higher. Those are the two opportunities I see on dollar. Bullish overall, though. On euro, I don't want to be Captain Obvious here. To be fair, we did say we were bearish last week. We just didn't get much bearish price action all week. It was a pretty flat week there. But, not going to say I'm a god for telling you we're probably going to take out that low. Now that I say that, it's just going to rally to the heavens. But anyways, I think we're going to take that low out. After that, the way we react with that low tells me if we're going to go down further or if we're going to maybe retrace a little bit. And I think that's also going to be dependent on which way the dollar goes first, right? Like let's say if the dollar pips up, which I think is going to happen, is we're going to pip up here, then trade lower. What happened there with euro is we're probably going to hit there and then trade a little higher, maybe cleaning out whatever equal highs are left there. Okay. For the pound, I think we're going to trade in this low. I'm not a huge fan of the pound's price action personally right now. I just would take it very day by day with pound. I'd say you're going to trade at that low, right? Reason for that is just overall bearish continuation. It seems like I wouldn't say this is the highest probability setup. Not really much order flow on any time frame really. The only thing I'm looking at is the dollar itself and then the way we're reacting above that high. Even a shorter term target would be these lows, but I don't think there's much meat on the bone with pound personally for what I look for. Gold, I'm bearish, really bearish on gold. So when I look here, overall, we talked about this quite a while ago. Right, we pushed down, fair value gap, swept highs into it, pushed down. Now, we didn't get any advanced market structure, right? This high, or actually, yeah, we did. I'm sorry. Duh, I was blind. We got some advanced market structure in the terms that we swept, or we went to the fair value gap, swept that high, lower high, and then we've turtle souped that high. So I would expect the market to not trade back above this area, right? I would expect us to trade down lower into these lows as a short-term target right here. And this low down here as more of a midterm target. So bearish on gold. Bitcoin, pretty neutral on, to be honest. I don't see anything. I think this is going to be either it's going to break through this with a lot of force and we're going to see a whole new little leg down and I was just wrong on this idea. Or we'll see consolidation here likely until we start shifting out of it. And I know that's kind of like, well, no shit, one of those two has to happen, but I just don't really have a super clean read on it. I will say though on Ethereum, I like the way Ethereum is looking a bit better. If we, I don't really like this necessarily, but really I want to see how we react once we get above like all this trend line liquidity that's being built up, right? Because we're building trend line liquidity all over the place. So if we displace above, like and break out of this range with a lot of force and displacement and create fair value gaps, I could see that beginning a new trend. But until then, pretty neutral on Ethereum too. I'd be just kind of sitting on hands. And you could even sweep lows and sweep. I see this as one of those nice, areas that's going to just consolidate. And that's usually what crypto will do. Either that or I think it's going to free fall, one or the other. But I'm leaning more towards the consolidation. LR on gold. Where at? Like down here? On what time frame? Or here? Oil, yeah, we'll take a look at oil. I haven't looked at oil in a while. Oh, it looks like it's respecting some level. I don't know if it's just coincidence. This could be an old level. Yeah, it is. Or actually, no, I think it's a monthly. Wait, no, what the fuck is this level? Where the hell did this come from? I don't know. I'm just going to clean my chart. I always do that if it's been a while. So overall, looking at like the monthly, just starting here. Look at this, like we're trading into this monthly fair value gap, and then another monthly fair value gap was created coming out of it. I think that's actually what it was. It just trading view will move sometimes. So, it's not the cleanest, but I would say I would be bullish on this overall for sure. And I think that, to be honest, I'll be that guy and say some crazy shit. I think the oil's going to make a run. Now, this is not something you're going to trade the entire move at once. It's going to take a while, most likely. But for oil, I would be looking at this right here. Overall, though, like, talk about like more local, I guess, day trader bias. I would be focused on trading back into this and creating maybe a 1 hour market maker model into that fair value gap. One of these right here. I'd be bullish on oil overall. Gold, there are news that Israel attacked Lebanon. That might affect gold to the upside. Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, are you going to trade based off that? I mean, if anything, I would just not trade if you're worried about that. Because until it comes out, like, you can watch the new, like, for example, if there's rumors like that, always watch the weekly open, see how the market reacts to those rumors. If there's actual news, watch how the news or the price reacts to it. But one thing I will say is never speculate too hard. Like, obviously we're speculating when we trade, but I'm saying never speculate on, like, events and stuff like that.